Well, Mel, I appreciate the time and thank you for doing this. I just want to talk about the Giants overall, like very big picture here. And even before you arrived, it was a 500 team, and you had that same kind of result last year. 3 years in a row, can't get away from 500. As you go into 2025, are there any positives you want to carry over from last season, or are you really trying to make this about the cleanest slate possible?
Well, I think, look, there was some development with some of our younger guys. Certainly, Elliot Ramos and Tyler Fitzgerald, Grant McCray, some of the young pitching, Landon Roop, Hayden Birdsong, Harry, Kyle Harrison. So I think that's what we expect moving forward is going to make us better. And then with the additions, obviously, of Willy Adames, which is huge, Justin Verlander and his experience kind of pitching at the top of the rotation, or a fully healthy Robbie Ray. We just feel like we have a better club and there's a little bit more excitement going into camp.
When Buster got hired, I pretty much knew exactly what you were going to say when you were asked about this. Number one, I don't know him very much because I knew you didn't really cross paths with him. But you were looking forward to figuring out, you respected him, and you were looking forward to figuring out who he was. So we're not that deep into it. It's only been 4 months total. But what have you gained about him as a person and also how he's operating in this role?
What you'd expect with what type of player he is, and it's kind of filtered into what kind of an executive he is. There's a lot of experience on the field, knowing players, makeup, stuff like that maybe not too many guys in that role are privy to. But, he's a calm thinker. In the winter meetings, we had a million things going on, and watching him with the resources around him kind of form his opinions based on what people were saying, but staying true to what he really believes are the right things to do was really impressive to see for a guy that's in a role that, you go from being a player to, a family man to now all of a sudden, the biggest role you can have in an organization, the most dicey role, the most, it's literally 24/7. So right. I think he's probably used his phone a little bit more than he has in the past, and never looks like he's overwhelmed by anything. So it's pretty cool.
Who's a better texter, you or Buster?
He's a better texter than I am.
Really? Your emoji game, your emoji game's pretty strong.
He's had to learn, that's how you with as much volume as he has going on his phone. That's something you have to do, with the thumbs ups and stuff like that, which I refuse to do. Those are things that you have to do. You just to acknowledge, yes,
I think
indeed.
I think it's called a tap back. You refuse to do a tap back where you thumbs up.
I don't like those. Don't like it.
I used to not like him easier, but that makes it easier.
I know, but I'm still not there.
All right, we're gonna get you there. We're gonna get, because I was the same way, and I thought it was too new for me. But now I realize the value.
I use emojis.
I know.
Use emojis, but I don't. Yeah.
I know.
Okay.
You'll get there. You'll evolve.
Yeah.
Justin Verlander. I know everybody's instantly going to point at age and what does he have left in the tank. 42 years old when the season starts, and even despite the injuries he went through last year, he still made 17 starts. He still had 90 innings under his belt. Do you even start to define either hopes or expectations for him, or do you just look at him and say, he's a Hall of Famer, he knows what he's doing, he'll figure this out, he'll give us exactly how much he can?
A little of both. They're very few, very rare that you have a 42-year-old guy, or going to be 42, I think, that's pitched at such a high level for so long a period. It's his work ethic. It's his belief in himself. Certainly there's a ton of talent in there. And just looking at, I saw some video of his bullpens leading up into spring next week. You look at some of the numbers, the vert and all that. It's still there. He's still throwing hard. He's still spinning the ball. And he's very encouraged that he's past the injuries that he had last year, and looks forward to a full slate this year, and doesn't really want to talk about, limits or anything like that. He just wants to pitch.
I feel like he personally owes you Verlander of 2012 and 13, Wink, wink, nod,
he's
nod.
Not aware yet. He's got to report to camp.
You're going to have
There might be some foul poles. in his future.
And
I was kidding with him about that.
That's for the ALDS. You mentioned Willy Adames, who I think signed the biggest Giants contract in franchise history, and obviously deserving of it. He played 161 games last year. I also found this stat, and I'm not sure you're aware of this. It's kind of the concept, though, more than the stat. No primary shortstop in baseball has had a better team winning percentage than Adames and the teams he's been on since 2018 between Tampa and the Brewers. I think the point there is it says something. He's a key player on pretty competitive teams. Like, he's a winner. Do you think that's the translation there and what you hope to bring?
He's a winner, and that's just, if you talk to him for 5 minutes, you realize that's what he's all about. And the way he relates, I mean, he's talking to guys, and just his personality around, early camp it feels like he's been there for a while. Guys migrate to him. He's very vocal in the cage. The way he just takes ground balls and does his job. It's just like he's having so much fun doing it. And I think the thing that resonated with me, and I told him, every time I played against him, in the first inning, he'd go out there, to take ground balls for the first inning, and it looked like opening day for him. And he looked like he was having that much fun. And it was every game. It was middle of the season. It was no matter who he played for. That comes with him. And boy, you feel it when you're around him.
Bryce Eldridge played in single A last year, low A, high A, double A, triple A, all the minor league levels last year. He recently turned a whopping 20 years old. And Bomel, of all the players on your team, normally you are taller than them. You look down just on them. He's 6'7", so eventually he'll be looking down on you someday, I think. 6'7", 220.
Already. I met him at Papago a couple times this offseason. He's long, he's lanky, he's fit. And a driven kid. But yes, he definitely looks down on me.
Are we too early on paying attention to him? I mean, does this need a little bit more maturation? Should people get that excited? I mean, there's going to be a lot of hype this year. People are going to have their eyes on whatever he's doing, wherever he's doing it.
Right. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of hype when you come with that resume. There's going to be. I don't think we're going to, at least early on, push too much at him. It was a long year for him last year. He moved up classifications. He played fall league. He did, that's a long year. And you'd like to settle in and do really well in the higher classifications. And whenever he does come to the big leagues, you want him to be performing well and have confidence going there, as opposed to just looking to rush and try to get him there. So there's going to be a little bit of time before we see him in the big leagues.
I keep in touch with Jim Chapman, who's Matt's actual dad. I feel like you're Matt's baseball dad, kind of always have been through the years. How's Chappie doing? He's a dad now. I know that he wants to get this team back to the playoffs. Is he a little bit antsy these days? How are you sensing him? Because I also feel like he really stepped in and took a leadership role last year.
He did. I mean, right away. And, he's in a great place, as good a place as I've ever seen him in his life. He got the contract he deserves. He's in the place that he wants to be. Gia, his little girl, has actually made him look a little bit calmer. Just at least in his everyday, actions. There's a security there that his life is in such a good place, and he's happy about it. Just watching him, the last few days I was, we opened our place in Scottsdale, and I saw him down there. A little bit of different, but once he gets out of the baseball field, there's a tenacity that just never goes away. That's who he is. But he's in a really good place in his life right now.
Do you think maturation is going to help him eventually shave whatever that mustache is like that?
I didn't bring that up. I didn't bring it up. We'll see where it goes. I thought that was just a superstition thing for a while, but if he likes it and he performs well, I'm good with anything.
I mean, I love everything about him. That's pretty much the only thing that's questionable to me. But maybe, maturation will change that. The Giants haven't had a 30 home run hitter since Barry Bonds hit 45 in 2004. In 2004, you were only in your second year ever as a big league manager. It's crazy how long that's been. As much as that's a fact and it's thrown out there, I'm sure you're aware of it. In this day and age where home runs are valued so much, is that a big deal for your team to have a 30 home run hitter, or is that just kind of like an interesting, amusing fact that people know about?
If you spread around some 20s, I think that's good. Mm-hmm. And we have quite a few guys that are able to do that. Look what Elliot Ramos did in not a full season.
Right.
Chappie obviously has 30 in him. Adames, 27 last year or whatever.
Yep.
Our ballpark tends to be a little bit more difficult to hit home runs in, and I think that plays into it as well. But I don't think we need a 30 guy. It would be nice to stop talking about that, because we get a lot of that. How are you going to bring in somebody who's going to hit 30 home runs in your ballpark? It's certainly doable, but I think we're going to be able to spread it around throughout our lineup, and I think we have enough power.
Let me cross this one off here for future use. I won't ask you about that one anymore. That's done.
Okay.
Realize that's a sore subject.
No, it's not sore. It's just
I get it.
you do hear it a lot. I heard it before I even became a Giant. With since Barry Bonds. So.
Jung-Hoo Lee on a more positive side, but also an interesting side, because I felt like what he did the first 5-6 weeks of the season was really impressive. Got on base, good leadoff hitter, played a pretty solid defensive center field, and then the injury crashing into the fence. I feel like that was such a bad domino last year, and people maybe soon forget what he was to the team and maybe what he will mean to the team here in 2025.
Because it happened early in the season, as the season goes along, you kind of lose sight of him. But he was a big pickup for us. Farhan did a great job bringing him in, and he's a really good player, and we missed him dearly. Now, we were able to develop some younger guys along the way, but we weren't as good a team without him. And it was really impressive to me, the adjustments he made in spring training, let alone going into the season, starting to see pitchers a second time again. All that stuff's big. And for him to go down in the fashion that he did, and what he brought to our team and how important he was, that was a big loss for us. And I saw him the other day. He's in great spirits. He's full go. He's already lobbying to try to get as many spring training at bats as he possibly can get. That's a key player for us.
Another stat that I remember hearing and seeing last year, and kind of how it was hard to believe that the Giants were the last team to officially steal a base at the start of the 2024 baseball season. Maybe some of that attempts, maybe some of that just execution. In terms of those strategy, does that strategy change on the base paths? And is it going to look like a different team, maybe now that there's a different directive starting at the top, a different approach? What things should we notice?
Something that we're in spring training, we're going to push a little bit harder, because we do, Adames, he had 20-some steals last year. Chapman can steal some bases, certainly. Jung-Hoo Lee is going to be better, I think, in stolen bases. He had the ankle injury, I think, 2 years previous. Tyler Fitzgerald can steal some bases. I think Ramos has got more, and McRae's really fast. We should be better along those lines, and we're going to have to push the envelope a little bit more in our ballpark too. So, whether you might see some hit and runs, believe it or not, with the type of personnel that we have. Well, we'll take a look at that in spring training and see how that looks. But for us to be able to win, we're going to have to be able to do multiple things, and push the running game a little bit more is something we need to do.
You've got enough on your plate in San Francisco and trying to help the team take the next step. Do you hate when media ask you about the Dodgers and their offseason and their situation? Do you hate to even go there?
You know what? Some depends on the day. But you know what? It's as close to a super team as you're going to see in baseball. They won the World Series last year, but it's also going to be kind of cool to be able to go in there and play in their ballpark and see the reaction to our fans to them coming as world champions this year. Giant Dodger rivalry already has enough.
Yeah.
But it's going to be really neat and inspiring to try to match up and see where we stack up against them. It's just part of an incredible rivalry that's taken to another level with the star players they have, and certainly winning a World Series last year. But we won't back down to that. We'll be inspired to play them.
And see, I think this is something you recognize and appreciate, not only somebody who works in sports, obviously, but you're also a fan of all different sports. When some team goes out there and spends far more than the rest, and they have a roster that's built like that, I don't know that it assures you everything. I do think it guarantees you, that they will be a competitive team, and you kind of almost can't miss there. They're going to compete right all the way to the end and probably be in the playoffs and probably make a run. But I also think it doesn't guarantee you a championship and another World Series like a lot of people think. I mean, am I crazy for that perspective?
For sure, especially in baseball. I mean, I think last year was the first year in a long time that the two highest spending teams ended up in the World Series. And won a World Series like that. Look at the year before. Two teams, Arizona and Texas, that weren't even supposed to be there. So, in baseball, with the amount of teams that can get into the postseason now, and how you're playing down the stretch, and the momentum you take into the postseason is huge. And you have to time it right. no matter how much money you spend. So there's no givens. It's certainly with the personnel they have gives them a leg up. They've won the West for I don't know how many years and been in the postseason.
Yeah.
But I've also been on the other side of beating those guys. You know, when I was in San Diego, we were big underdogs against them, and you know we took them down in a playoff series and went to the NLCS. So like you said, nothing's given.
Two more things for you. And the first one being a Bay Area product and native, and you and I both probably understand this the same way, that with only one Major League Baseball team in town, and a lot of casual fans, right, in our region, they just want to watch baseball. They've never maybe had one allegiance to a certain side of the Bay or the other. Is this a year for your team? I mean, not just on the field, but maybe off the field too, to kind of go out and capture the casual baseball fan being, like I said, the only show in town now? Is this an opportunity?
Yeah, you have to play well for people to come out. But look how many there are a ton of baseball fans in the Bay Area, and they're going to be looking for their fix.
Right.
So I think that benefits us. I don't like the reason for it. You can still go up the road a couple hours and go see the A's, and I'm kind of excited to see what the atmosphere is going to be like in Sacramento. We're there for 4th of July, which is going to be a big deal too. Just to not see the name Oakland, you know, that hurts some. But look, the Bay Area is full of sports fans in every sport, but maybe there are a few more we can capture and bring them out to our ballpark that used to wear green.
I'll be going west on 80 well before I ever go east on 80, if you know what I mean, Bob.
Yeah.
Last thing for you, what kind of things have you been doing to stay happy and healthy during the off season? Have you got back on the mountain bike at all?
Yeah, mountain bike, been hiking, a little golf. Actually had a tournament early in the off season that I didn't want to be in because it meant we weren't in the postseason. But the same stuff that I normally do. And then once you get to January, you're just itching to get back. And with with what our team looks like, the additions we've made, having Buster around, all those things are very exciting. So our camp right now, we opened up Scottsdale just the other day, and I think there were like 12 bullpens the first day, and guys are already there. They're itching to go. So there's a lot of excitement and enthusiasm going on in Scottsdale right now.
I will also acknowledge your Cal hoodie that you're wearing. Congratulations on the move, I guess, to the ACC. And
it's weird.
Yeah, I'm sure you got some thoughts on that. But for now, I appreciate your time. I will see you at some point this season. Bob, take care.
I hope so. Anytime. I love this. I love coming on your podcast.